Hi there, my name's Jordan, but most people call me JoJo. When you move about every 2 years throughout your entire life, having a name that is easy to remember serves one well. This is also telling of how I fit into communities throughout my life. Home as a place is something I've never experienced. I've lived in houses, apartments, rundown buses, on strangers' and friends' couches, the back of my vehicle, on a beach along a river, in a tent high in the mountains. My front yard has looked over many different vistas, both perfect and lacking. The location didn't matter. It was the people. Over time, I learned that for me, home is a who, not a where. I had to be adaptive and find genuine ways into communities with no clue as to how long I would be there. This has shaped my experiences and relations in profound ways, which I find hard to explain to others. I guess the best way to start is at the beginning. My family moved constantly from my father's job as a nursing home administrator. They would transfer him to facilities that were struggling and needed help through a hard time. I saw from my very first days that, regardless of the situation, sometimes you have to sacrifice everything to help. Every moment of change was not a setback, even if it really, really felt like one. Instead, they had the potential to become an opportunity, if I allowed it. Caring for our elderly is something our culture has separated from so deeply. We've basically completely severed the ties to our past. Time is not linear like a river, but ebbs and flows like a large ocean. It grows from what was and what will be simultaneously. But without the lens to look back, we lose our sight to look forward. My father's work to unconditionally and unapologetically provide for those who truly need help molded my morals and ethics. I grew up in the Midwest, all over Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa. If you had not had the privilege to visit, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a tabletop, one that stretches hundreds of miles in all directions from you. Now, on top of this table, place cows and corn. There you have it. This is most of my childhood. The Midwest landscape has been graded, but all of a mere 2 to 3% of its original prairie ecosystems. That is to say, I did not have wilderness to nurture and teach me. The culture of farming people is shaped by the landscape in a much different way than what we have here in the West. Tourists only flock to the big cities for detached consumerism. Everywhere else is pockets of tightly woven baskets of communities focused on their needs and their place. Everyone knows everyone and everything. You are never alone. If anything can be done to help, you will get through the hard times hand in hand with your neighbors. This isn't to say they are not without their faults, but they are accepted for who they are. Breaking into these communities was not easy. If you look like an outsider, you are one, and you will be treated like it. I had to learn to see and respect the small things that built up the norms and oddities of my communities. Once I could understand these nuances, they became the subtle keys I had to quickly learn if I was to be accepted. This awareness, the ability to see the subtleties in situ and understand the importance of those nuances, shaped and reshaped how I found community. I was blessed by the unconditional support my parents had for all the wild, new plans or adventures I would come up with. This ambition to try new things, regardless if I was capable, became my in for these communities. Taking the lessons from my father that one can always use their strengths to help, and the lessons from my communities of who they were, what they had, and where they were, elevated me from being an outsider to one of the crew. I didn't have much to give except my time and my passion. I came to see this was more than enough. It would lead me to countless new experiences with just as many new lessons. These can be summarized into 3 steps of immersion. Step 1, learn the place. This is the most exciting and fun part. It is the literal navigation of the landscape. I would learn the place by foot, bike, car, bus, train, boat, shopping, eating, singing, dancing. By participating one-on-one with the place, I would intimately know my physical resources. Getting this orientation is my reference point to the place. Step 2, learn the people. Culture and landscape are inseparable. We don't necessarily notice or honor that connection, but they are deeply intertwined. This step is about vulnerability, acceptance, and willingness to learn. All people are teachers. We have lost the knowledge and use of mentors through our Western education system. We expect to learn from a book sitting in a desk, directed by a teacher, professor, or supervisor. This is detrimental to the power of knowledge in all things truly important. Our intangible ties to each other and the place is nearly impossible to describe. Yet, once you have felt it, you understand it completely. Step 3. Learn my role in the community. The easiest way I learned to tap into this well of knowledge is by volunteering or getting a job. The immersion as the apprentice or the student gave me the grace to be naive and shaped by experience. Reputation as a reliable and capable person became an important tool to integrate into these tightly woven networks. Once I had one foot in the door, the floodgates would open. Before I knew it, I would be involved in countless teams, clubs, groups, and events, and in short order, if I proved my commitment, this would lead me to holding positions of leadership, and in turn becoming a mentor myself. To be a part of the whole is connecting the place with the people. This is where I would find home. The place is built from and by the people. Remember, home is a who, not a where. With these steps, I found my place again and again and again. My journey to discovering who I am rode on the shoulders of every experience I said yes to. When I had to choose a career path, I followed my passion in art and earned degrees in graphic design and digital animation. I enjoyed the complexities of understanding software and technology, as well as knowing how to look at the people and quantify their needs. To be an effective designer, you have to know who you're trying to reach and how to communicate with them. Design is a way of seeing, thinking, and talking, using culture and art to speak. Eventually, I was embittered by my experiences in the real world. I did not enjoy how often I had to create something that was counter to my morals. Whether it was creating wasteful packaging or paper handouts, designing advertisements to convince people to buy more things they don't need, or pushing a stereotype or misleading slogan to be witty and eye-catching, I couldn't really find my place. My animation school brought me out to the west, to New Mexico, which opened up a whole new can of worms. I got interested almost immediately to basically an obsession with outdoor recreation. This led me to give up my path and shift back to my roots in being new, both as a student and a mentor. My new journey started in Moab as a river guide. It is where I gained my love and drive for conservation. I began as a commercial river guide until I realized I cared more about teaching my clients than they cared to learn. This began a decade-long venture with nonprofits and outdoor education. For the first time in my life, I was able to find and combine my true passions. My skills to observe and problem solve from design, the excitement and efficiency of guiding and public outreach, and put it to use as a mentor and teacher of the land and the people. My life from this point accelerates exponentially. As a guide, I become a teacher, navigator, provider, and protector of a new community every single day. I became the middleman in the narrative I had lived countless times. I was the one to bring the newcomers in, but in a more meaningful way. Teach them my 3-step process in a landscape and of people they knew nothing about. I had found my niche, but I still didn't feel at home. The fun adventure life wasn't all glitz and glam. I saw and felt a void with the efforts of my community to hold meaningful connections with the swarms of visitors. The outsiders coming in droves, taking on their way out, taking physically and emotionally. The helplessness of a global problem casting its weight onto a small local community. I too felt beaten down and raw, seeing things I love hurt or even destroyed. The struggle of being an empath is having to be at peace with grieving. I couldn't just sit and watch it pass by. So, I did what I know best, and I became engaged. I went back to school for another degree in anthropology, with an emphasis in archaeology. This would solidify my connection of people and place. I was not prepared for the strength this move was going to give me. This key opened up all the connections I have made, all the lessons I have learned, and all the places I have and have not been, becoming once more the middleman of people and place. My job was to look to the deep past, to understand communities based on my 3 principles: where they were, who they were, and what was my role. The beautiful part about being human is the fact that we have knowledge. We are privileged that we get to know. This is also our downfall. With knowledge comes all sorts of problems. But just like the lesson of the Midwest farmers, you are never alone. If anything can be done to help, you will get through the hard times hand in hand with your neighbors. Time is not linear. We have learned the same lessons repeatedly. I will venture to say maybe the knowledge isn't the point of living, but learning is. My place and purpose in life is still going to be the middleman. I'm here to teach how to be new, how to be a student, and then how to become a mentor. To have people understand the 3 steps. Learn the place, the people, and their role in the community. To see that community isn't just now or just here. Once we understand that both the farmer next door and the juniper in the backyard are both important community members, we can become students and mentors of both land and people.